I bought a greenhouse in a box. Was it worth it? In this video, I reveal what it actually costs to do this, including the level of effort. Let's find out if I'd actually recommend it. It all started when I tried to build a greenhouse myself. We moved into our new home. We designated a space for the greenhouse. There was a lot of planning that went into defining exactly where we'll position the greenhouse, considering light, humidity, those sort of things. While we were casting the foundation, I was simultaneously requesting quotations from companies and contractors who were familiar with building greenhouses from the ground up. Believe it or not, but the cheapest quotation that came in was 60,000 TT. If you're new here, I live in Trinidad, and that led me to searching on Amazon for a quick fix. Shockingly, I found one that looked great on paper and even better on my pocket. Wait till you see the price coming up for this one that's available on Amazon right now. But don't get too excited just yet. There's a lot of hidden costs that I'm going to reveal in this video, as well as I want to give you all my honest review. So by the end of this video, you'll know if it's worth it. In this video, I'm going to present the assembly step by step so you all can have, the best idea of what it took to get it all together. To start with, if you haven't noticed already, I hired a contractor, and based on the information I gave him, which was just off of Amazon, he sent a team of 3 guys to do the job for me. The greenhouse came in 3 boxes. 2 of them contained the frame and accessories, and the last one had polycarbonate sheets alone. Everything was well packaged and in great condition. For y'all who missed the video before this, I'm just going to touch on the cost thus far before we continue. If you missed part 1 to 3 of the series, I'll link all of them in the description below so you can get, all the details before you actually go out and decide to buy this on Amazon. Or I'm hoping that it'll be able to put you in a better position to assess if something like this is, worth it for you. Up on the screen is just a quick summary of the 4 steps that I had to take in order to get this greenhouse here landed in Trinidad. The cost associated with each step is up on the screen now. So currently we're at $11,826 and assembly cost is coming next. As mentioned before, everything came well packaged and thank God it was well labeled as well because the manual was complete rubbish. Luckily, I was able to find a video of the assembly by the manufacturers themselves on YouTube, and it's linked in the description below. So the first step was to lay out all the different parts based on the labels provided. It took 3 days to get the entire structure erected. On the first day, this is where they got, I think the majority of time was spent trying to figure out how to put things together without the manual and just going back and forth from the video that I mentioned before to understand how all the parts worked and I guess testing out different parts to make sure, the instructions given in the video actually made sense. So this is where they got after day 1. At this point, given the level of effort for this first day, I was really, not too sure, or I didn't really have much of a positive outlook in terms of, if this is going to work out, the assembly bit, as well as the durability bit. So I, was just assessing how thin the frames were, and I really was in a state of doubt. It's made of aluminum frames, which were highly recommended for areas or homes that experience sea blast. Zinc coated RHS was the alternative. Upon further discussions, the contractor mentioned that any reinforcing they will be able to do for me. So, just to put me at ease and to know that, I haven't been wasting my time and money having brought this in, considering I just was not convinced at this point that this was going to work. But the contractor said, well, he really reassured me into, understanding that everything can be tweaked and reinforced, obviously at a cost. So I kind of started preparing my mind for that. On another note, simultaneously, I was still testing different plants out in this area just to continue to understand the lighting. But eventually, thankfully, the rains held up after lunch, and the guys were in full swing, having understood, from assembling the day before, and they were able to get the frame of the roof up next. We got to chatting, and they all agreed that some experience in construction is required to assemble this. It's no easy DIY. You're going to need special tools, I guess professional tools, if you're going to undertake this task, or just hire professionals to do it. They had to cut some of the aluminum framing to ensure that it fit securely. What was provided did suffice, so they didn't have to buy any additional material or additional parts. They really were able to put to work everything that was provided. However, minor adjustments were necessary. I did get a huge confidence booster once I saw the roof went up. The structure itself appeared to be a lot more stable, having been, I guess, anchored in some way by the roof itself. By the end of day two, the installation of the polycarbonate sheets started, and I was so thrilled to see that. I was like, it's finally coming together. These were the extra parts that were left over after assembly on that day. Some of it is to be used on the inside for further reinforcement. Upon starting the polycarbonate sheet installation, though, they did mention that they had to cut some of the polycarbonate sheets as well to fit. Remember, a piece by piece manual or installation guide is provided in the description if you want to see exactly how the pieces connect and which ones connect to which. The actual manual, which was such a great visual aid, is linked in the description below. One of the features currently up is that window. The system itself has two windows. I'm hoping that it'll be sufficient to keep the heat index down. But when I put in my thermometer, we'll really get a true picture of what that heat index is. So at the end of day two, this was what was completed. Only a couple more sheets had to be installed on the roof as well as the doors. My first impression at this point is that the structure itself really looks like what it looks like on Amazon. The major difference is that the polycarbonate sheets are not clay. That's the material that's left over heading into D3. In terms of aesthetics, it really is 10 out of 10 to me. It is exactly the vibe and the look that I was going for. I wanted something to be minimal and still, just, I guess, a nod to the main house itself. So keeping things just in sync on the property itself, the structure was able to achieve that. It's left to be seen if the functionality bit of it is also 10 out of 10. And if you all know me or if you've been on this channel for a while, you know that I rely on data heavily. I do a lot of testing. Numbers never lie to me. And there it is. Everything was completed by D3. Now the true testing starts. Is this structure going to blow away? Is it going to actually function and hold up against the heavy rains and the weather that we experience here in the tropics? I also have a cost update coming up for y'all shortly. Once we've understood, visually what we've achieved here, I'll be sure to present that before the end of the video, as well as give y'all, I guess, a sneak preview as to what's to come. What I'm showing you right now is the guttering system. I don't think I mentioned that it comes with its own guttering system. So there are these pipes on all four corners of the structure itself. Okay, so let's take a closer look at all the different features. So there is a window on this side as well as one on the opposite. I already touched on the guttering, and these are the entry doors. There are two doors. So this handle opens it as well as closes it, and it swings all the way back to be hooked on this hook on both sides. So it's a double door. In theory, everything seems to be checking out, but I'm going to be skeptical until I see this thing perform. So let's continue with our walkthrough. So that's the other side of the guttering, and this is the other window and the last bit of guttering. Okay, and this is the second door, which mirrors the first, except this one does not have a handle. It actually has two locks on the inside, a pull down lock on the top. That's this one here that was giving me a run for my money to pull down at first. I guess it's just, from lack of use. I'm hoping this gets easier over time. And there's one on the bottom that releases it completely, and then it's able to swing all the way open and hook similarly to the first one. As mentioned before, because of the high heat index, I'm already seeing that I'm going to have to keep these doors open as frequently as possible, if not 24/7. This is a look at the inside in terms of how roomy it is. It is quite spacious. Additionally, there are multiple points to secure the roof and to further stabilize it. Those are these, I guess, arms here that have, secured it really well. There's also two supporting beams, if you want to, for lack of a better word, that is holding it up pretty nicely. So, I do feel secured in here. More importantly, the entire structure is anchored into the foundation via these clamps. So it really is sitting firmly. So I would definitely recommend doing a concrete foundation to have this installed on so that you don't have to really worry about it being blown away. I do not have that fear anymore. Here's where I think you should pay particular attention. So you can see me shaking the window here. It is quite light. It's not heavy duty. It does come with this extendable arm that allows the window to be fully, open and kept open. So I think this is going to be open 24/7 for me, considering the heat index. What was misleading on Amazon was that they indicated that there would be a window on the roof as well. For some reason, the system did not have that. They didn't even have the parts to install an additional window, so that was failure there in my mind. The polycarbonate sheets are not fastened to the framing itself. They really have just been slid in there, so it does shake when the wind blows. You can shake it as well. These are the leftover parts after installation. It wasn't really much left over. I was happy that I guess they had some extra bits in case, there were errors. So that was good on the manufacturer to provide some extras, but this is what was left. Okay, so let's get into the cost as well as some pros and cons and then a preview of what's to come. So, in addition to the $12,000 that I've already spent, approximately, the assembly cost was an additional $3,500. So, up until this point, the total cost now is $15,326.09. So here are the pros as it relates to just acquiring the structure. So it took only 3 days to install, and it was pretty much a fraction of the cheapest quote that I received, and it is a secure and stable structure. With respect to aesthetics, well, you already know that's 10 out of 10 for me. However, with that said, I know I'm going to have to do some customizations to take the heat index down, particularly. The cons for me was that the manual I received was rubbish and it was not easy to assemble and that I could do it myself, and the sky window I was expecting was completely missing. Two additional points that I just want to stress a little bit on, and I did not particularly put them in cons because I feel like I need proof to do that first, and it might be subjective. The first is the heat index. This is super high for the tropics. So, in terms of being able to use this as is without additional ventilation, I off the bat will not be doing that and will have some customizations done to take that heat index down. However, if you do live in temperate countries, this will be super useful to you during winter time. The second point, and this came from the contractor himself, is that he believes that this guttering is really decorative. So this is left to be seen. I'm going to wait for a heavy downpour, and in the follow-up video, which I'm going to highlight specifically how this greenhouse functions, I will be sure to feature it in that video. So here's the final verdict. Was it worth it? Now, to answer that question, and you'll see I'm already starting to do additional works or customizations, I need to really test this greenhouse, this Amazon greenhouse, properly to really be able to recommend this to you all in terms of if it functions as it ought to. Cost wise, though, based on what I wanted, based on my aesthetics and based on my preferences, in terms of the structure itself, I can't I can't even imagine to think that the quotation that I got was $60,000 just for the structure itself. So, in terms of if I'm just paying for the structure alone, like this is a no brainer. So here's what I'm going to do for you all, and you would have already seen the sneak peek of what's the next video to come. I'm going to present all the conditions that this greenhouse provides for you all who are interested in establishing your own greenhouse, whether it's this Amazon one or your own, just so that you can understand my thought process in terms of ensuring that I have a safe and proper home conducive for growing aroids here in Trinidad. The next thing I want to do is to ask you all if you have your own greenhouse already, or if you have the same one that I'm installing here. If you can just drop us a line in the comments so that we can understand how things are working out for you. What is your take on it? And if you have any recommendations for me in terms of what customizations did you do, what would you recommend for me? I would love to hear it all. So please remember me in the comments if you have any additional information to share. And just like that, the greenhouse structure is finally up. Be sure to subscribe to see what's coming next.